The Russian authorities may have shut down his newspaper, but journalist Dmitry Muratov refused to be silenced. When Steve Rosenberg met in Moscow, the editor-in-chief of Novaya Gazeta and Russia's Nobel Peace Prize laureate is worried how far the Kremlin will go in its confrontation with the West. 2 generations have lived without the threat of nuclear war, Mr. Muratov tells him. But this period is over. Will Putin press the nuclear button or won't he? Who knows? No one knows this. There isn't a single person who can say for sure. Since Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, Moscow's nuclear saber rattling has been loud and frequent. Senior officials have dropped unsubtle hints that Western nations aiming Ukraine should not push Russia too far. A few days ago, Russian President Vladimir Putin announced plans to station tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus. Then one of his closest aides, Nikolai Petrushev, warned that Russia had a modern unique weapon capable of destroying any enemy, including the United States. Bluff and bluster, or a threat that needs to be taken serious. Mr. Muratov has picked up warning signals inside Russia. We see how state propaganda is preparing people to think that nuclear war isn't a bad thing. He mentioned on TV channels here, nuclear war and nuclear weapons are promoted as if they are advertising pet food. They announced, "We have got this missile, that missile another kind of missile." They talk about targeting Britain and France, about sparking a nuclear tsunami that washes away America. Why do they say this? So that people here are ready. On Russian state TV recently, a prominent talk show host suggested that Russia should declare any military target on the territory of France, Poland, and the United Kingdom, and a legitimate target for Russia. The same presenter has also suggested flattering an Iceland with strategic nuclear weapons and carrying out a test launch or firing a tactical nuclear weapons so that no one has any illusions. Yet state propaganda has portrayed Russia as a country of peace and Ukraine and the West as the aggressors. Many Russians believe it. People in Russia have been irradiated by propaganda. Mr. Muratov says propaganda is a type of radiation. Everyone is susceptible to it, not just Russians. In Russia, propaganda is 12 TV channels, tens of thousands of newspapers, social media like VK, the Russian version of Facebook, that serves completely the state ideology. Now NATO condemns dangerous Russians' nuclear rhetoric. But what if tomorrow the propaganda suddenly stops? He asks. If it all goes quiet, what would Russians think then? Our young generation is wonderful, replies Mr. Muratov. It's well educated. Nearly 1 million Russians have left the country. Many of those who have stayed are categorically against what is happening in Ukraine. They are against the hell that Russia has created here. He was convinced that as soon as the propaganda stops, this generation and everyone else with common sense will speak out. They are already doing so. He continues, 21,000 administrative and criminal cases have been opened against Russians who have protested. The opposition is in jail. Media outlets have been shut down. Many activists, civilians, and journalists have been labeled foreign agents. Does Putin have a support base? Yes, an enormous one. But these are elderly people who see Putin as their own grandson, as someone who will protect them and who bring them their pension every month and wishes them Happy New Year each year. These people believe their actual grandchildren should go and fight and die. Last year, Mr. Muratov auctioned off his Nobel Peace Prize to raise money for Ukraine child refugees. He has little optimism about the future. Never again will there be normal relations between the people of Russia and Ukraine. Never. Ukraine will not be able to come to terms with this tragedy. In Russia, political repression will continue against all opponents of the regime. He also mentioned. The only hope he has lies with the young generation, those people who sees the world as a friend, not as an enemy, and who want Russia to be loved and for Russia to love the world. Also, he has a hope that this generation will outlive him and the Russian President Vladimir Putin.